So I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about cardio versus weight training, a little bit of information about them, and just a bit of a general chat, really. Obviously, there's a lot of different types of both of these. So what we're going to cover is what is cardio or kind of cardiovascular training, the benefits of cardio, how to measure that, and how to measure our CV system, what strength training is, the benefits of it, aerobic training, aka cardio versus anaerobic training, and go through a lot of the different sort of ways of doing these. So, what is cardio training? So, cardio CV session and cardio workouts are all common expressions referring to cardiovascular training. So, what exactly is cardiovascular training? How much of it should we be doing? And what should we be doing as well? We're going to cover in the next few minutes. So CV training, cardio in general, the dictionary definition of CV training is the physical conditioning that exercises the heart, lungs, and associated blood vessels. So, in other words, when you do a cardio session, you're giving your heart, lungs, and sort of circulatory system, in addition to any muscle groups that you might use, a good workout. Um, Cardio is very, very important because it's your body's way of dealing with everything. Every type of exercise has some form of cardio element in it. So without that, kind of buggered. And we need to make sure that it's looked after and it's nice and healthy. So how do we measure it? There's a couple of different ways we can measure it and measure the efficiency of it. So everyone has a CV system or everyone has a level of cardio, but measuring how efficient it is very important as well. So resting heart rate. So resting heart rate is obviously when you are doing pretty much nothing. You're sat down, you're chilling, you're asleep, whatever it might be. And your resting heart rate, or RHR, is a number of times your heart beats in 60 seconds. And a heartbeat is a single contraction of your heart, and it's basically pumping blood around your body. The lower your resting heart rate is, the more your heart can pump, the more your heart can pump in a single contraction, and effectively, the stronger it is. The average adult's RHR is about 72 beats per minute. But with cardiovascular training, that can reduce and providing you with a measure of sort of improvement as we go forward. So obviously, the fitter you are, so if we look at like elite athletes, they can have very, very low heart rates or resting heart rates. For example, if we look at the double Olympic gold medalist Sebastian Coe, apparently he had a resting heart rate of 29. Obviously, he's very cardio heavy athlete, but the fitter you are, the lower your heart rate, resting heart rate generally is. Another way of measuring it is blood pressure. So a lot of us will get our blood pressure tested when we go to the docs. And obviously, blood pressure has two different values and usually displayed as kind of a X over X. So, for example, 120 over 70, the upper figure will be what's called systolic pressure, which is the pressure when your heart contracts or pumps blood out of your heart and around your system. And while the lower figure, the bottom one, so the 70 in this example, is what's called your diastolic pressure. And that's the pressure when your heart's relaxed. So your target for your blood pressure should be, I mean, it varies slightly, but we want to keep it ideally around that 120 over 70 to maybe 80 mark. But we definitely want to keep it under the 140 over 85, similar to your resting heart rate. CV exercises will improve your blood pressure, which will provide you with a measure of your cardiovascular health. Different types of CV exercise. There's many different types of CV exercise, but the most effective exercises are those that use large muscle groups. I think things like running, and require you to support your own body weight whilst exercising. So, walking at a good pace, jogging, running, cycling could be one as well. And this next list will give you a good idea for a few different ones. But generally, anything that's going to get you out of breath for an extended period of time. So how much should we do? A really, really important question. We want to make sure we're doing at least 20 or 30 minutes of cardio exercise, ideally 2, 3 times a week. Although it might seem a lot, you can factor it into a lot of things. So things like walking, specific training sessions in the gym, or maybe you add some circuits into your gym work that can work just as well. And it's not necessarily running on a treadmill, but anything that's going to get you out of breath and your heart rate up is CV exercise or cardio exercise. So stats show that 17% of car journeys are less than a mile. So think about it like if you're going to go to the shop and it's a mile away, go for a walk. Generally, you might be able to cover that in about 15 to 20 minutes as a walk, and it's going to benefit you in terms of cardio exercise. My presentation froze there. So CV workout, keeping your lungs and your heart in good shape has got to be a priority. We need to make sure that's working the way it should and well for long-term health and fitness. In addition to that, there's a whole host of other benefits as well. CV workouts can be fun. Things like playing sports regularly have a lot of CV in them, and help you feel good afterwards too. So runners' high is a pretty well-known thing that runners often get after a session or after a run, and it can be experienced through lots of different CV training. Something that is often overlooked as well. If you've got bad knees, for example, maybe choosing a different type of exercise other than running might be a good way of doing it. Or picking your battles with your CV training. Something you enjoy is good, but if it's going to knacker you out and you can't do any other training, maybe change up what we're doing.